My name is Kenji Watanabe. I'm 73 years old. I live in Yamagata, a beautiful Japanese city. Sweet cherries in the summer, soft snow in the winter. Some of you may remember me from a video a few weeks ago. And I want to thank you for every message. But today, I need to talk about something I didn't say back then. Something more intimate, more difficult, because what I'm about to tell you could save you from a kind of pain that sits inside the body for decades. My wife, Aiko, and I were married for 41 years. 41. And for most of that time, I believed we had a good marriage. Not perfect, but good, stable, respectable. But there's a truth about long marriages nobody tells you. You can live with someone for decades and still not truly know them. Aiko died 6 years ago. Pancreatic cancer, found in the spring. And by summer, she was gone for months. From she's just tired to terminal patient. And in those final weeks, lying in that quiet room, she said something I think about every single day. She said, "Kenji, we wasted so much time trying to be right, instead of trying to be close." At first, I got defensive. I thought, wasted. I paid the bills. I was there. I was faithful. I was responsible. We rarely fought. But over time, I understood it wasn't about fighting. It was about choice. It was about how we keep postponing what holds love together. Until one day, we realize, too late, that if it matters, do it today. Let me explain. For years, Aiko suggested small things, simple things. Let's take a walk at night, just the two of us after dinner. Let's spend New Year's in Kyoto, at least once. Do you remember when we used to stay up talking, with no rush? And I always had a reason not to. Too tired. Work. Not now. Maybe later. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just thought we had time. I thought those little moments didn't matter that much. I thought love was built from the big things, providing, being faithful, being reliable. And yes, those things matter. But I didn't understand something. Love is built mostly in the small, ordinary moments that don't look important. The tea you drink slowly, instead of standing there scrolling on your phone. The question you ask and actually wait for the answer. The attention you give when the other person talks about something that sounds small but isn't small to them. I stopped doing that, not all at once. Slowly, so slowly I didn't even notice. One missed conversation led to another. One not tonight became 100. One later became never. And Aiko, being Aiko, adapted. She stopped insisting. She stopped asking me to walk with her. Stopped suggesting trips. Stopped trying to have those deep conversations. She found friends, found community groups, found ways to live without depending on me. And without realizing it, we became two polite people living in the same house, respectful, organized, and deeply alone. Did I see it? Maybe I did. But I kept telling myself it was normal. That's how it goes. People change. The spark fades. Life becomes practical. But practical is just a nice word for neglect. And it's strange to admit this. I found it comfortable. But comfortable isn't connected. When she got sick, everything changed. Suddenly, there was a deadline. Suddenly, that someday had an invisible date on it. And in those final months, we talked more honestly than we had in the previous 20 years. Aiko told me dreams I had never truly listened to, wounds she carried in silence, moments when she felt invisible inside her own marriage. And one night, a few weeks before she passed, she told me about a place she had always wanted to go with me. Nagano's Alps. She wanted to walk part of the pilgrimage, not for religion, but for meaning. She said she wanted to walk beside me, quietly, with no rush. Like when we were young and had nothing yet somehow had everything. She had told me before, many times. And every time, I gave the same answer. Not a good time. When I retire. Later. And suddenly, there was no more later. She didn't say it angrily, and that's what hurt the most. She said it with sadness, with a calm resignation, like she had accepted years ago that I wasn't going to become the partner she needed. I asked, why didn't you push harder? Why didn't you insist? And she said, because I didn't want you to go out of obligation. I wanted you to want to go. That sentence broke me, because she was right. She didn't want a husband who checks boxes. She wanted a husband who actually wanted to share a life. And for the first time, I saw how I had confused duty with presence. After Aiko died, I stayed alone in that house, surrounded by silence. And sometime later, I went to clean out a drawer I never touched. You know, the kind of drawer every home has: sold papers, memories, things you keep because you can't bring yourself to throw them away. At the bottom, there was a brown envelope, my name written by hand, Kenji. I stared at it for a few minutes. Because I knew a letter is a conversation you can't interrupt, and I was always good at interrupting. In the corner of the envelope, there was just one word. Small, discreet. A word I had heard many times, but never truly understood. Ikigai. I opened it, and her handwriting looked alive. The letter said, Kenji, if you're reading this, it means I'm already gone. I'm not writing to punish you. I'm writing because I waited too long for you to truly see me. And I don't want you to spend the rest of your life believing everything was fine. You were never a bad man, but you became a distant one. I tried to call you into the small places, because that's where love lives. And every time you said later, I learned how to live without being chosen. I didn't need an expensive trip. I needed intention. I needed to feel like I was still your ikigai, and not just part of your routine. Because ikigai isn't simply having someone near you. It's having a reason to move toward them. Being right is easy. Being close takes work, and I wanted closeness. Goodbye, Aiko. I read it once, then I read it again, and suddenly I realized I didn't lose Aiko on the day she died. I was losing her slowly. Every time I chose the easy thing, the automatic thing. Every time I chose to say, not now. And that's why I'm saying this without the drama. Just truth. If it matters, do it today. And I felt a shame that was almost quiet. A quiet shame. The shame of understanding too late. I spent my whole life thinking my duty was to provide. But it became my excuse to not be present. I thought love was not doing anything wrong, as if not cheating and not leaving was enough. But relationships don't only die from one big betrayal. they die from 1,000 small absences. And here's what I need you to understand. The biggest threat to your relationship isn't always shouting. It isn't always drama. It isn't always something huge. It's quiet indifference. It's assuming the other person will always be there. It's stopping your questions because you think you already know the answers. I used to think ikigai was just a beautiful word about purpose. But I learned the most expensive way. In love, ikigai is the reason you return to the same person, fully present, not out of obligation. Because if it matters, do it today. So, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and don't answer fast. Think and answer honestly. When was the last time you had a real conversation with the person you love? Not about bills, not about logistics. A real conversation about fear, dreams, ideas, desire. When was the last time you did something just because it would make them happy? Not for a birthday, not out of duty, just because. When was the last time you looked at them, really looked, and felt your heart smile? If you can't remember, you're on the same path I was on. And I know this sounds heavy, but it's true. One of you will go first. And when that happens, there is no redo. There is no, I'll do it later. There is no when work slows down, or when I finally take a vacation. That's why I say this, without drama, just truth. If it matters, do it today. On my desk, I keep a photograph of Aiko from our first year together. She's smiling. And when I look at that photo, I see two things at the same time. The woman full of life, and a quiet shadow of sadness I helped place in her, not through cruelty, but through neglect. She was right. We wasted too much time trying to be right, instead of trying to be close. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, what was the last small thing someone offered you that you postponed? Maybe the next letter will be yours.